In a cold Manhattan penthouse, a grieving CEO's rigid world unravels when a bold nurse sparks hope in his paralyzed daughter, igniting a thrilling journey of healing and rediscovery. Welcome to Life Bond Tales. Like and share the story if you feel a touch with the story. Let's start the story. The Manhattan skyline glittered through the towering windows of Victor Grayson's 60th floor office, a cold constellation of steel and glass that mirrored the icy precision of his world. At 45, Victor was the unyielding force behind Grayson Innovations, a tech empire that thrived on his relentless discipline, his steel blue eyes scanning financial reports with a focus that left no room for error or emotion. Every meeting was time to the second, every decision a calculated strike, his life a fortress of schedules that kept the chaos of grief at bay. 3 years ago, a rain-slicked highway had stolen his wife, Elena. Her laughter silenced forever when a delivery truck barreled through a red light, leaving their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, paralyzed from the waist down. The accident had shattered more than Lily's spine. It had frozen Victor's heart, turning the warm father who once spun his daughter through their living room into a cold architect of success. Their penthouse, a sprawling monument atop a Park Avenue tower, had once been a canvas for Elena's warmth and Lily's creativity, its walls alive with vibrant landscapes painted by a little girl who dreamed of art galleries. Now it was a sterile fortress. Its medical wing a testament to Victor's wealth but not his love, filled with state-of-the-art equipment and a revolving door of caregivers who failed to meet his exacting standards. Lily spent her days in a wheelchair, by bulletproof windows, staring at Central Park's distant greenery, her sketchbook untouched, its pages as blank as her expression. Her once sparkling eyes, so like Elena's, were dulled by grief, her silence a rebellion against a world that had taken too much. Victor's nightly visits were brief, mechanical, his "How was your day?" met with a pointed glare or strategic silence, a mirror of his own retreat into work. Clara, his assistant of 20 years, stood in the doorway of his office, her graying hair pulled into a neat bun, her maternal warmth a quiet contrast to Victor's detachment. She had watched him transform from a man who once read bedtime stories to a father who reviewed emails during Lily's rare attempts at conversation. "The latest caregiver quit," Clara said, placing a resignation letter on his mahogany desk, her voice gentle but heavy with concern. "Lily hasn't spoken to her in 2 weeks." Victor's jaw tightened, his pen slashing through another termination letter, his frustration spilling out. "I provide detailed protocols, competitive salaries, the best benefits. Why is this so difficult?" Clara hesitated, her maternal instincts overriding corporate protocol. "Lily needs more than protocols, Victor. She needs someone who can reach her heart, not just her body." He stared at the faded family photo on his desk, the last one taken before the accident. Elena's radiant smile, Lily's tiny hands clutching paintbrushes, their happiness a memory he couldn't touch without feeling the weight of his failure. The penthouse's pristine hallways echoed with ghosts, Elena's voice singing lullabies, Lily's laughter as she danced with paint-splattered fingers, moments Victor had locked away in a closet with her artwork, too painful to face. Each departing caregiver took a piece of Lily's hope, and Victor's guilt grew heavier, a silent admission that his control couldn't heal her. He worked late into the night, the city's lights a distant hum, his spreadsheets a shield against the memories that haunted him, Eleanor's hand in his, Lily's tiny frame leaping into his arms, the life they'd planned now buried under 3 years of loss. Clara's suggestion lingered, a crack in his armor. "We need someone with specialized pediatric experience," she pressed, her eyes searching his for a spark of the man he used to be. Victor's fingers paused over his keyboard, the weight of Lily's silence pressing against his chest. He thought of her in the medical wing, her wheelchair a throne of isolation, her defiance, an art form he couldn't decipher. "Find someone qualified," he said, his voice barely a whisper, his gaze fixed on the photo where Elena's smile seemed to plead for him to try again. Clara nodded, her heart quickening with the faint hope that this decision might shatter the fortress Victor had built around himself and his daughter. Unbeknownst to him, change was already stirring. A phone call away, ready to challenge the cold empire of his grief and bring light back to a home that had forgotten how to live. The morning sun filtered through the penthouse's towering windows, casting long shadows across the marble floors as Clara dialed the final number on her carefully curated list of caregivers. 25 interviews in 4 days had yielded only disappointment, each candidate either cowed by Victor Grayson's reputation or lacking the specialized skills to reach Lily's guarded heart. Then came Sophie Martinez, a 30-year-old pediatric nurse whose voice carried a warmth that stopped Clara mid-sentence. "Hello, this is Sophie," she answered, her tone vibrant yet grounded, bypassing salary negotiations to ask, "Tell me about Lily. What does she love?" Clara, caught off guard, found herself sharing not just Lily's medical chart, but stories of the girl who once filled the penthouse with colorful sketches, her laughter echoing through rooms now silent. Sophie listened, her pen scratching notes, her nursing degree paired with art therapy training, giving her insights Clara hadn't heard from others. "My grandmother was an artist," Sophie shared. "She taught me that creativity can heal where medicine alone isn't enough." Clara's heart raced. This was different, this was hope. Hours later, Sophie stepped into the Grayson penthouse, her nursing bag slung over one shoulder, a small sketch pad tucked under her arm, her dark eyes scanning the sterile space with quiet determination. Victor greeted her with a leather-bound manual, 50 pages of rigid protocols detailing Lily's physical therapy, diet, and medication schedules. His voice clipped as he emphasized precision. "Physical therapy begins at 8:30 sharp. Meals are calculated for optimal recovery. No deviations. No emotional coddling," he said, his gaze fixed on Sophie, searching for weakness. She nodded, her expression respectful but unwavering, though her eyes drifted to Lily, seated in her wheelchair by the window, her fingers clutching a closed sketchbook, her face a mask of indifference. Sophie noticed the faint pencil marks on Lily's fingertips, a hidden rebellion against the sterile routine, and filed it away as a key to her soul. That first day, Sophie followed Victor's rules to the letter, guiding Lily through mechanical exercises in the clinical therapy room, but she watched closely, noting how Lily's shoulders slumped, her movements robotic, her silence a fortress of its own. During a break, Sophie placed a small Bluetooth speaker on the therapy table, letting soft violin music fill the room, a subtle addition within the manual's bounds. Lily's fingers twitched, tracing invisible patterns, her eyes flickering with something alive for the first time. "This doesn't change the exercises," Sophie said gently. "It just makes them feel a little lighter." Lily didn't respond, but her posture shifted, her movements less strained. That evening, as Victor worked late in his office, Sophie sat with Lily during dinner, the long dining table a silent battlefield, where Lily picked at her approved meal. Sophie didn't push, instead sketching a quick doodle of a bird on a napkin, sliding it toward Lily with a smile. "My grandma used to say birds draw their freedom before they fly," she whispered. Lily's eyes lingered on the sketch, her fingers brushing the paper, a spark of curiosity breaking through her guarded stare. Over the next 2 days, Sophie wove tiny threads of creativity into the routine, humming during therapy, leaving colored pencils by Lily's bedside, each act a careful rebellion against the manual's cold precision. She caught Lily sneaking a glance at the pencils, her fingers hovering as if tempted to draw, but fear held her back, as if creating might betray the mother whose art she could no longer mirror. Sophie's heart ached, recognizing the grief woven into Lily's silence, a mirror of her own loss when her grandmother passed, leaving behind a legacy of sketches that taught Sophie to heal through creation. She made a silent vow to find cracks in Victor's rules, where Lily's spirit could grow, knowing one misstep could end her time here. As she tucked Lily into bed, Sophie spotted a crumpled drawing hidden under the pillow, a faint sketch of a garden, Eleanor's favorite, unfinished but alive with love. "Are your secrets safe with me?" Sophie whispered, tucking the drawing back, her resolve hardening to bring this little girl back to herself, one careful stroke at a time. The late afternoon light spilled into the Grayson penthouse, painting The therapy room in hues of gold, as Sophie guided Lily through another set of arm-strengthening exercises. The soft hum of violin music, now a familiar companion to their sessions. 10 days had passed since Sophie's arrival, and though Lily's silence persisted, her movements carried a new rhythm, a subtle grace that hinted at the girl who once danced with paintbrushes. Victor, detained by a high-stakes merger negotiation, had cancelled his usual evening check-in, leaving the penthouse quieter than usual, the air thick with possibility. Sophie, sensing an opportunity, suggested a change of scenery, wheeling Lily into the long-abandoned art studio, a room Victor had sealed off after Elena's death, its walls bare but heavy with memories. The space smelled faintly of turpentine and nostalgia, easels standing like silent sentinels, a canvas half covered with Elena's unfinished garden scene tucked in a corner. Sophie positioned Lily's wheelchair beside a fresh canvas, her voice gentle but firm. "Let's try something new today, just you and me. Your arms need to work, but they can create too." She placed a brush in Lily's hand, guiding it to dip into vibrant blue paint, the music swelling to a gentle crescendo of Tchaikovsky's Waltz of the Flowers. Lily hesitated, her fingers trembling, but Sophie's steady hand supported hers, tracing slow arcs across the canvas, the strokes transforming into a swirling sky. For the first time in years, Lily's lips curved into a smile, a soft laugh escaping as a splash of paint dotted her cheek. The sound was a melody, fragile but alive, echoing in the room where Elena's spirit lingered. Sophie whispered encouragement. "See, your hands remember how to fly." And Lily's eyes sparkled, her movements growing bolder, each stroke a rebellion against the grief that had bound her. Unbeknownst to them, Victor had returned early, the merger meeting cut short by a rare lapse in his schedule. He stood frozen in the studio doorway, his briefcase slipping to the floor, his breath catching as he witnessed his daughter painting, her face radiant with a joy he thought lost forever. Memories flooded him. Eleanor and Lily side by side, their laughter blending with the scent of paint, a life before the accident that had stolen their light. Tears carved unfamiliar paths down. His cheeks, his heart cracking under the weight of seeing Lily alive again, not just surviving but creating. But as the music faded, his instinct for control surged, his voice sharp as he stepped forward. "This isn't in the manual. You're risking her progress with unauthorized activities." Sophie turned, unflinching, her eyes meeting his with quiet resolve. "Mr. Grayson, look at her. She's engaged, she's moving, she's happy." She slid a leather journal across a nearby table, its pages filled with meticulous notes, Lily's increased range of motion, her sustained therapy sessions, her first spoken words in weeks, all backed by medical references on art therapies. Benefits. Victor scanned the data, his analytical mind grappling with the undeniable evidence. Lily had completed 40 minutes of exercises today, triple her usual, her posture stronger, her spirit brighter. Sophie's voice softened. "She's not just a patient, she's a girl who needs to feel alive again. This is therapy, just in a different form." Victor's anger faltered, his gaze shifting to Lily, who clutched her brush tightly, fear flickering in her eyes as if expecting this moment of joy to be snatched away. He saw Elena in her face, the same defiant hope that had once challenged his need for order, and something inside him shifted. He knelt beside Lily, his voice unsteady. "You painted something beautiful today, sweetheart." Lily's eyes widened, searching his for punishment, finding only vulnerability. "Can I keep painting, Daddy?" she whispered, her voice a fragile gift. Victor nodded, his throat tight, unable to speak past the lump of regret for all the moments he'd missed. "Yes, but we follow Sophie's lead, carefully." Sophie's heart swelled, knowing this was a crack in Victor's armor, a chance to rebuild what grief had torn apart. She promised Lily they'd paint again tomorrow, her mind already planning ways to weave creativity deeper into their routine, within the bounds of safety and progress. As Victor watched his daughter wheel back to her room, her sketchbook now open on her lap, he felt the weight of his own transformation beginning, a father learning to let love guide where control had failed. The weeks following Lily's breakthrough in the art studio brought a fragile warmth to the Grayson penthouse, like spring thawing along frozen ground. Sophie, emboldened by Victor's reluctant approval, wove art therapy into Lily's daily routine, transforming the therapy room into a sanctuary of color and sound. She introduced watercolor exercises to strengthen Lily's wrists, each brushstroke paired with gentle piano melodies, coaxing Lily to speak in short bursts about her paintings, gardens, birds, memories of Elena's smile. Lily's words were tentative, but each one felt like a victory, her voice a soft echo of the girl who once narrated her artwork with boundless enthusiasm. Victor, though still tethered to his office, began lingering during these sessions, his tie loosened, his hands awkwardly holding a paintbrush as Sophie guided him to join Lily in creating simple sketches. His attempts were clumsy, lines uneven, but Lily's giggles at his efforts softened the edges of his guarded heart. He marveled at how Sophie balanced medical precision with emotional warmth, her journal now a testament to Lily's progress, improved dexterity, sustained focus, and moments of unprompted laughter. Yet Victor's fear of losing control simmered beneath the surface, his trust in Sophie fragile against the weight of his grief. One crisp morning, Sophie proposed an outing to an adaptive art class at a nearby community center, believing the change of environment could spark Lily's confidence. She presented Victor with a detailed plan, citing studies on social engagement's role in pediatric recovery, but his response was curt. Not yet. Too many variables. Undeterred, Sophie took a calculated risk, informing Clara, but not Victor, and wheeled Lily to the class, where children with varying abilities painted together, their laughter filling a sunlit room. Lily hesitated at first, her wheelchair a barrier among strangers, but Sophie's encouragement and the sight of other kids creating freely drew her in. She painted a vibrant sunflower, her hands steady, her smile radiant as a classmate complimented her work. For the first time, Lily felt part of something beyond the penthouse's walls, her heart lighter than it had been in years. When they returned, glowing from the experience, Victor was waiting, his face a storm of betrayal. "You took her out without my permission," he said, his voice low and dangerous, the manual clutched in his hand like a weapon. "You're fired." Lily's face crumpled, her sunflower painting trembling in her lap. "Daddy." "No." "Sophie." "Helped me feel normal again," she pleaded, her voice breaking. But Victor's fear drowned out her words. "To your room, Lily, now." The silence that followed was heavier than any before, Lily's wheelchair retreating down the hall, her sobs echoing in the sterile space. Sophie packed her bag, leaving her journal on the dining table, its pages a silent plea for Victor to see the truth. The next 5 days were a descent into darkness. Lily refused therapy, her meals untouched, her sketchbook closed, her silence a weapon sharper than ever. Victor buried himself in work, but the numbers on his screen blurred, haunted by Lily's tear-streaked face and the memory of her laughter in the studio. On the 6th night, a piercing cry woke him at 3 a.m. Lily curled in her bed, her legs locked in painful spasms, her breathing ragged with anxiety. The on-call doctor's instructions failed, the manual's protocols useless against her distress. Victor's hands shook as he dialed Sophie's number, his pride crumbling under the weight of his daughter's pain. "Please, I can't help her," he said, his voice raw, her cries piercing the line. Sophie answered instantly, her voice calm but urgent. "Is she having spasms? Put me on speaker." Guiding Victor through breathing exercises, she instructed him to massage Lily's legs gently, her presence a lifeline even through the phone. When the spasms persisted, Victor's desperation broke through. "Sophie, please come. I was wrong. I need you." 20 minutes later, Sophie burst through the penthouse door, her keys still valid, her focus solely on Lily. Kneeling beside the bed, she applied targeted pressure point therapy, her hands steady, her voice soothing as she sang a lullaby her grandmother once used to calm her. Lily's breathing slowed, her body relaxing, her eyes locking onto Sophie's with a trust that shattered Victor's defenses. As Lily drifted to sleep, clutching Sophie's hand, Victor stood in the doorway, tears streaming down his face, his illusion of control shattered. Over coffee at dawn, he slid a new contract across the table, doubled salary, full decision-making authority for Lily's care. "I'm sorry," he said, the words foreign but necessary. "You were right. She needs more than my rules." Sophie studied him, seeing not just the CEO but a father broken open by love. "I'll stay, but you have to be part of this, not just the one giving orders." Victor nodded, his heart heavy with the realization that saving his daughter meant surrendering the walls he'd built to keep pain at bay. The dawn after Sophie's return marked a shift in the Grayson penthouse, as if the walls themselves exhaled, releasing years of trapped sorrow. Victor, his pride humbled, committed to being more than a distant overseer, clearing his morning schedule to join Lily's therapy sessions, his presence tentative but earnest. Sophie guided him with patience, teaching him to support Lily's arms during watercolor exercises, his hands learning to steady rather than control, his voice softening as he praised Lily's bold strokes of crimson and gold. Lily's trust in her father grew, her smiles more frequent, her words spilling out in stories about imaginary worlds she painted, each canvas a bridge between her grief and hope. Sophie's journal, now a shared document, brimmed with milestones, Lily's grip strength doubling, her therapy sessions stretching to an hour, her laughter a daily occurrence. Yet Victor's transformation was tested when Lily's doctor, Dr. Patel, called with an unexpected opportunity, a 6-month experimental program at Chicago's Northwestern Medicine, blending neural retraining with adaptive art therapy to potentially restore sensation in Lily's legs. The catch was its intensity, 4 days a week in Chicago requiring a parent's full presence. Victor's first instinct was to calculate how to manage it remotely, his mind racing with board meetings and acquisition deadlines, but Lily's hopeful eyes, fixed on him as Sophie explained the program, silenced his excuses. "I want to try." "Daddy," Lily said, her voice steady despite the fear of failure. Victor took a breath, his decision crystallizing. "Then we're going, all of us." In a boardroom that afternoon, he stunned his executives, announcing an extended leave to focus on Lily, delegating daily operations to his trusted team, his voice firm as he declared, "My daughter comes first." The move to Chicago was swift, the family settling into a modest apartment near the hospital, a far cry from the penthouse's grandeur, but alive with warmth. Sophie transformed the small living room into a therapy space, hanging Lily's paintings, to make it theirs, while Victor set up a laptop in a corner, balancing strategic calls with bedtime stories. The program's first weeks were grueling. Lily endured neural stimulation that felt like pins and needles, her frustration flaring. When progress was slow, but Sophie's art therapy sessions gave her an outlet, her paintings evolving into vibrant expressions of resilience. Victor learned to spot Lily during standing exercises, his hands steadying her as she took trembling steps with braces, his encouragement replacing the orders he once gave. One evening, as they painted a mural together, a sweeping landscape, "Of Elena's favorite lake," Lily asked, "Do you think Mommy sees us?" Victor's heart clenched, but he answered honestly, "I think she's with us in every color we choose." Sophie, watching them, felt her role shift from caregiver to something deeper, her heart entwined with this family's healing. Dr. Patel proposed an adaptive art exhibition to conclude the program, a chance for Lily to showcase her work alongside other children. Lily, inspired, wanted her mural to honor Elena, a testament to her promise to keep creating despite her changed body. Sophie and Victor collaborated, researching adaptive techniques to ensure Lily could paint standing with support, Victor even sourcing special brushes for her limited grip. Late-night planning sessions became family moments, the three of them laughing over paint-splattered clothes, Victor's once pristine shirts now a canvas of their shared journey. But as the exhibition neared, Lily's fears surfaced. One night, unable to sleep, she whispered to Sophie, "What if my mural isn't good enough? What if I can't stand long enough to show it?" Sophie knelt beside her, her voice steady. "Your mural is you, Lily, brave and beautiful. We'll be there every step." Victor, overhearing, joined them, his own fears of failing Lily resurfacing. "You're stronger than you know," he said, his hand on hers, "and we'll catch you if you fall." Lily nodded, her eyes bright with determination, her heart bolstered by the family they'd become. Sophie suggested a practice session, guiding Lily through the mural's final strokes, while Victor recorded her movements, creating a video to track her progress and share with Dr. Patel. The process was slow, Lily's legs trembling under the effort, but her pride in each completed section was electric, her laughter filling the apartment as Victor playfully dabbed paint on Sophie's nose. In those moments, Victor realized Sophie was no longer just Lily's nurse. She was the heartbeat of their new beginning, her presence stitching their broken pieces into something whole. As the exhibition loomed, they rehearsed tirelessly, Lily's confidence growing with each supported step, her mural a vibrant tapestry of love and loss. Victor, once paralyzed by control, found freedom in trusting Sophie's expertise and Lily's courage, his heart opening to a future he hadn't dared imagine. The night before the exhibition, they sat together, the mural propped against the wall, its colors glowing under the apartment's soft lights, a promise of what lay ahead. The Chicago evening buzzed with anticipation as the Northwestern Medicine auditorium filled with families, doctors, and community members, their murmurs blending with the soft hum of overhead lights. Lily, in a flowing emerald dress that shimmered against her wheelchair, clutched a program listing her mural, Elena's Garden, a vibrant tribute to her mother's love of nature. Sophie, in a simple navy blouse, stood beside her backstage, adjusting the adaptive braces that allowed Lily to stand briefly, her hands steady, but her heart racing with pride. Victor, in the front row, gripped the program, his usual composure replaced by a nervous hope, his eyes tracing the stage where his daughter would soon shine. The past 5 months in Chicago had transformed them. Lily's legs now responded to neural stimulation with faint sensation, her standing time stretching to nearly 15 minutes. But more than that, her spirit had bloomed, her paintings a testament to a courage that defied her physical limits. The auditorium darkened, and the first performers, children with walkers, crutches, and wheelchairs, took the stage, their artwork displayed on screens, each piece a story of resilience. When Lily's turn came, Sophie wheeled her to center. The mural unveiled behind her, its sweeping greens and golds evoking a garden alive with sunlight and memory. The audience gasped, the colors a vivid contrast to the clinical setting, and Lily's voice, clear and strong, began her presentation. "This is for my mum, who taught me to paint my heart," she said, her words carrying a maturity beyond her. 8 years. With Sophie's support, she transferred to her braces, standing shakily but proudly, her hands gesturing to the mural's details. Flowers Elena loved, a hidden bird symbolizing freedom. Victor's breath caught, tears welling as he saw Elena's spirit in Lily's radiant face, her courage a mirror of the woman who had once filled their lives with color. The audience leaned forward, captivated as Lily described her journey, her voice breaking only once when she said, "Painting helped me find her again." Halfway through, her legs wavered, and Sophie's arms were there, seamlessly guiding her back to the wheelchair, the movement choreographed like a dance, turning a stumble into grace. The crowd erupted in a standing ovation, 5 minutes of applause that shook the room, Victor's tears mingling with smiles as he clapped, his heart full of a pride he'd never known. Backstage, Lily threw her arms around Sophie and Victor, her voice bubbling with joy. "I did it, Daddy, I showed Mommy." Victor held her close, whispering, "She saw, sweetheart, and she's so proud." The moment felt sacred, a culmination of their shared journey from grief to healing. Returning to New York, the penthouse was no longer a mausoleum but a home reborn, its walls now lined with Lily's paintings and Elena's restored artwork, a celebration of past and present. Contractors had transformed the space, accessible, ramps blended with warm wood tones, a new art studio with adaptive easels and soft lighting where Lily could create freely. Victor, inspired by Chicago, restructured his role at Grayson Innovations permanently, working remotely to prioritize family, his board surprised but supportive as his strategic vision proved stronger than ever. One evening, as they gathered around a lowered dining table, Lily's voice cut through the clink of plates. "Daddy, when you marry Sophie, can I paint the wedding decorations?" The question hung in the air, a spark of childlike certainty that made Victor and Sophie freeze. Sophie laughed softly, kneeling beside Lily. "Your daddy hasn't asked me yet, sweetheart." Lily's eyes widened with indignation. "Daddy, you need to do it right with a ring." Victor's laughter, deep and unguarded, filled the room, a sound that had become their new normal. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a velvet box he'd carried since Chicago, containing a sapphire ring Elena had loved, reset with stones to honor their new beginning. Dropping to one knee, he took Sophie's hand, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Sophie Martinez, you brought us back to life, taught us to love again, to trust in something bigger than fear. Will you marry me? Be Lily's mother, my partner, and build this family with us?" Sophie's eyes shimmered with tears, her answer a whispered yes, then louder, "Yes, of course." Lily cheered, already planning floral designs, her wheelchair spinning with excitement. The moment sealed their transformation, a family forged not just by blood but by choice. That night in the new art studio, they painted together, music playing softly, Lily standing briefly to add strokes to a canvas depicting their trio surrounded by Elena's flowers. Victor's hand guided Lily's, Sophie's laughter blending with theirs, their movements a dance of connection, each brushstroke a promise of a future unafraid of love. Outside, spring painted New York in vibrant hues, mirroring the life blooming within their home. Lily's steps, though aided, were confident, her laughter a melody that echoed through halls once silent. Victor, no longer the cold CEO, felt Eleanor's presence not as pain, but as a foundation for their joy, her love woven into every canvas, every smile. As they worked, Lily announced, "I'm painting with both my parents." Her words, a declaration of wholeness, a family rebuilt from loss into something stronger. The photographs that would soon adorn their walls would capture this moment. Three souls creating together, their love a masterpiece born from courage and trust, a testament to a promise kept to keep painting, no matter how different the canvas.